Welcome to Featured Artists Live, a weekly show to discuss and listen to your music. With help from my other YouTuber buddies, we hope to give you words of encouragement, guidance, or simply just enjoy your wonderful creations. I'd like to thank our sponsor, DistroKid, all of the wonderful artists, and all of you for watching. Now, let's get on with the show.
Hi folks, I'm Pete and I hope you're well. Welcome to Featured Artists Live here on, it's the wrong channel. And what's going on here? The whole world just imploded upon itself. No, this is Featured Artists Live. It's not Your Music Live, but maybe we can take it over one week. But no, this week is not that week because we do have some wonderful guest hosts today, which is one of which is the wonderful Jade Starr. And I think there's a bloke called Mike who usually hangs around here. He usually likes to talk about DistroKid, and he likes to hope that you're well. So hopefully one of them will join me really soon. Otherwise, I'm going to go off and start ranting. And as we know from previous episodes, I do like to swear on other people's channels. So
Okay. I
we'll
think
see
I
how
better
that goes.
jump.
How awkward.
You did that so well, man. You did it so well. You're so smooth. It makes me feel insecure how smooth you are. God, you're good. You've got that radio voice. You've got that friendliness. You've got the whole thing going. And then I realised that you don't have any controls, like any technical controls for
That's
the
right.
show.
You could have just left me hanging there for literally minutes.
I could just pop out. If I just want to go and have a whiz now, I could just...
And then I'm just stuck back here by myself and I get to talk about this and I get to say, hi, folks, I hope you're well. By the way, how's good that cakewalk? Let's all go and use cakewalk on our PCs and see how that goes for us all, shall we?
This is like a different universe for you, isn't it?
I do feel out of control. I do love to be able to have a button there, and as soon as I'm live, I'm just like, oh, this is what it'd be like to be on an actual live news broadcast where they just, you know, those bits where they always flash back to someone. He's just standing there scratching himself, and he's like, oh crap, am I live? We weren't supposed to cut to me yet. How are you, Mike? Apart
I'm good.
from being a troublemaker.
I'll do a little proper introduction. I just want to say, I'm going to say thank you to the sponsor here for this show, DistroKid. Folks, follow that link in the description. And by the way, hello. Follow that link in the description if you haven't used DistroKid yet, and you will get a 7% discount off of it. It's really cheap normally anyway, and it's 7% off. I get a little cup, which is really nice, but it's at no extra cost to you, which is awesome. I'm just going to go right in there, Pete. I'm just going to bring up our other guest right away, who's probably feeling a little left out now. Let's have Jade Starr up. Always great to have that. Of course, Jade. Yes. Hello, Jade. Hello, Jade. Please show us your wonderful face. Hey.
I'm Jade and I hope you're well because smooth operator.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hey, Jade. How are you?
Doing good. Yeah.
It's a bit stupid that I say, how are you? We've just been talking for the last half an hour, haven't we, before the show? I know exactly how you are, but for the benefit of the people watching, and there's a few in there, welcome to the people watching, tell us what's been happening on your wonderful How to App channel, Jade.
Oh, I spent the last week of my shows delving into Loopy Pro on iOS, and I've written my first written, recorded, released. It'll be released on Monday. It was an adventure. I had no idea. I started with clean slate, had no idea what I was doing. Got to the fourth day, and it sounds okay.
What is Loopy Pro though? Like really?
It's everything. It's a DAW.
What
it's
isn't
a
it?
looper. It's so good, man. It's really shaken up the whole iOS world. So it's an Australian developer from Melbourne, and it's a looper. It's a digital audio workstation. It's everything. It's so clever, and you can import samples. You can record samples. You can record loops. You can do live loops with it. It's really amazing, and it's definitely changed the face of iOS. So that's
interesting.
That's what I was doing this week, and next week I got my 500th episode. So that's super exciting. Yeah.
Wow. Whoa.
I know. Time flies.
Yeah, amazing. And Pete, what's been going on? Are you still doing that garage band thing? Are you still on that on iOS?
On that whole GarageBand iOS, you can actually make music on your iPhone stuff. That illusion that I'm creating. Yeah. No, we are. I also own a Mac now, so not only am I an iPhone person, I'm now a non-PC and Mac person. So I've basically tried to alienate every person that I used to associate with because I'm using everything different. But no, it's going really well. I've got a song. I'm doing a song a month for the year of 2022 because I realized last year I only did 3 songs for the entire year. So I want to get back into creating more music. So I've got 3 days left to finish this song. Jade Starr is frantically helping me working on the drums at the moment, and we're going to get it done. So that's all exciting. And then, of course, Your Music Live, which is a show kind of like this one, also brought to you by DistroKid. So that'll be kicking in tomorrow as well. And then we've got, lots of live shows over the weekend. But this is kicking off. I love this. I get to come on here and relax for a bit.
It's different, isn't it, when you're a guest? It's nice. It is. Now, you brought up a couple of things there which are a bit poignant, pertinent. I don't know. What's the word? Something beginning with P. Two things that you've only recorded 3 songs in the last year. I think that would be similar to me, maybe 2 or 3 in the last year. And one of the things that can happen is you get stuck in the mixing phase. That's very important for today's show because we've got a difference with today's show. And as you say, this show is quite similar to your show. I didn't steal it. I borrowed the idea, but I decided to just try something a little bit different. So we've got a bit of an experiment going on with this show this week, and so what people were doing is sent in their unfinished mixes for us to listen to. So really, normally on this show for people watching, we sort of feature music from there in the community, and it's almost always, I think it's always been released in some way. So it's kind of done. So the advice that we give them is more helpful to them in the future when they do other songs. But this is where we get to advise them for work which hasn't been released, and we can help them rescue things, if you like. Now, I was thinking that when I was a teenager, there was I won't go into details, there was a male figure in my life who was a kind of what do you call them? Lost my words. Mentor. That's the one, Mr. Johns. I knew that. Now, and he used to say to me over and over again, it's like one of those little sayings he had. He used to say, Mike, never show unfinished work to fools or children. And I know we're too old to be children. It yet remains to be seen whether we're fools or not. But there's something in that. When you have unfinished creative work, it may be mixes, it may be video or anything like that. Be careful who you show it to, because not all people have a vision. Not all people have that ability to imagine that this is not finished yet, and it's still got its place to go to. I think my guests, folks, Pete Johns and Jade Starr here, are definitely people with vision. So, but I will say at the same time, it's very brave of these people to send in work which isn't finished, which is now going to be played in public. That's really, really, really brave. So big well done to the people who have submitted the music. They don't know who they are yet, and quite a few people have sent them in. I haven't emailed people to let them know that their music's going to be on the show. And if your music doesn't happen to be on the show, if you're watching live here or in the replay, and that doesn't mean that it won't be. This is a pilot show, so we may well be doing this again, maybe next week or what have you. So it's very important that people watching on the replay and in the live chat let us know what you think about the format of the show. Let us know how you think it's going. Is it helpful to you? I'm hoping that listening to other people's unfinished mixes and listening to the advice of my wonderful guests is going to be really helpful to you. And I think that could be a good format for a show rather than just congratulate people about how wonderful their work is. Now, moving on with the actual first song then. Oh, shit. Pete Johns.
Yay!
Pete Johns.
I didn't swear first. Cha-ching.
Pete Johns opened the floodgates, didn't he? He opened the floodgates, and now... Who did that little ding then? Was that Jade?
That was me. That was my bell.
Did you have you've got a bell, have you?
I do have a bell now, yeah. You have to always have a bell for... you have to ring your own bell. No, it's for innuendo. Whenever there's some cool innuendo, you've got to be able to do that. So, like, as Bear said here, don't show your stuff to just anyone.
That's true.
You always need a bell. Sorry, Mike, continue.
By the way, before I do get onto the first song, I totally forgot to say hello to some of the people in the live chat there, and I did ask them to say hi. And before we get into it, I've not been a good host today.
Well, I'm the host, aren't I? Is that why?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
You thought you'd throw the duties away.
Relinquish that.
Let's just say there's a few regulars in here. Doug is in here. Nice to see you as always, Doug. Awesome. We've got Pete Johns in there. Oh, he was in the chat last week as well.
Hope you're well.
He was the first one in the chat today, saying something about this show being in stereo.
Oh, man can hope.
It's an old dad's joke, mate. It's an old.
I'm an old dad.
G'day from G'day to Farron from Pittsburgh there, and also let's have just a couple more. We've got to say hello to Mimo Japan, of course, in there moderating. G'day Mimo, the Lily Pillies, who we all know, of course, a regular in here now. Thank you for always being here, Lily Pillies, and always adding in the live chat there, always adding good comments in there. And that reminds me that as we do listen to these songs, then give us your opinion in the live chat there about what you think about these mixes and what have you. Jade, you can introduce the first one here, simply because me and Pete have been doing all the talking, and it's nice to give you an opportunity.
Oh, thank you. Well, I already done a show this morning. Ladies and gentlemen, this is our first artist that we will be listening to. This is Norm Anderson and Live Forever.
Live forever? Question mark. Live forever?
Live forever.
Just quickly, the reason I did that is because actually Norm in his email to me didn't mention what the title of the piece was. Maybe it hasn't got a title yet, so I christened it Live Forever. So
it could be Live Forever too.
Oh, it's like that NXS album. So confusing. Yeah. Live, baby, live.
Or like this show seems like right now, just live forever.
Never.
Oh dear. So this is quite interesting. This song was originally written a few years ago, I think, as a let me just have a look, as a kind of a rock song, I think, originally. But what Norm's done is just completely reworked it into a different genre. So that's a really interesting thing. I've never personally done that before. And I think it's a great creative sort of exercise. Anyway, quotes from Norm himself. He said, "I've done my best to maximise the drop." That gives you a clue to the genre that we're going to. The chorus after the second verse, using a very subtle decrease in gain in the final bus, about 2.5 decibels, and then jumps back up to 0 right on the bar. It's a technique that could be used across many different genres, not just in those ones that use the drop. But yeah, so that'll be interesting. We may be listening out for that. And he says also, by the way, the friend who I wrote it with thinks that my song doesn't suit the song. Oh, sorry, my voice doesn't suit the song. I don't really agree. I think that's an opinion and others might differ. So I think he wants us to have a listen to that and see what we think about that as well. So let's go ahead and listen to this live or Live Forever.
Question mark?
Question mark?
Weren't born to live forever.
Let's have Pete Johns up there for the whole thing.
There's so many unanswered questions, so many things to know. After this life is said and done, where do we all go? There's so many unanswered questions, so many things to know. After this life is said and done, where do we all go? We weren't born to live forever. We weren't born to live forever. We
Well, I was so busy there taking notes that suddenly it was over. I'm going to go over to Jade first of all. Now, so it's really nice to be able to ask you a different question, Jade, because normally on these shows it's like, hey, what do you think kind of thing, right? But this is more like, how do you think this mix could be improved? It's a different thing, right? So I'll invite you to answer that.
And look, it's a difficult thing for me because I don't create this kind of music. So I'm far from an expert on this kind of music. I may have listened to it at a few raves, but I was probably off my chops at the time, so I really have no idea. But from my knowledge on mastering other people's music, like Russ 88, I've mastered a lot of this music. I feel like with the look, it's a really, really cool song, nice and catchy, all that kind of stuff. That's good. But I felt like the bass really wasn't driving enough for me. This kind of music needs low. It needs to kick. If you're in a club, the catchiness of the vocal is one thing, but what you're looking for, from my experience, which is little in with this kind of music, is you want it to thump. You want it to thump, and you want it to get you to move. And I just felt like it was a bit weak in that respect. I felt the drums were a bit, soft and just a bit too gentle for that kind of music. I think that's probably the keys are a little bit up too. But I think overall the whole bass line and the drums need to be more thumping, and that's really all I can add to it.
It's funny you should say that because I used exactly the same term in my notes here. Bass could have more thump, although I did misspell it in my notes to thumb. So bass could have more thumb, apparently.
If you thumb your bass, you get some thump. There you go. It's a connection.
Right. But I, like you, Jade, and I'm going to let Pete speak, but like you, I'm not obviously an expert in this genre of music, but we have both come up with that hearing. I thought it had a great bass line. It had quite a busy bass line actually, but it was interesting. And my sort of not very educated suggestion is with that bass, although it could have even more low end, I would suggest a little bit more attack on the bass itself so that it is really thumping with the kick in there. They're working together and just getting that boom, boom, boom happening in there. Pete, what did you think about that and other things with this mix?
Yeah, I know we're not here to say we enjoyed the song, but I enjoyed the song. I thought the hook was really good. I thought it was a really well-written hook, really catchy chorus. So that kind of stuck out as I listened to it. I agree with the bass that the bass needs to, well, not needs to, but again, I'll put the caveat that not my genre of music either, but from my experience listening to this sort of genre of music, having the kick and the bass, like in most music, the bass drum and the bass guitar or bass instrument are kind of the driver. They kick it along, and that's what will make you nod your head. And I've just wanted to nod my head a little bit more to that, especially in those big choruses. I wanted to be the really on that 1 and 3. So that's sort of part one. I think that I like the phasiness, but I didn't hear a lot in the way of stereo width. So it seemed all kind of a little bit up the middle. Like there was the flange, which created some nice dynamics in there. We did have some nice loud and soft parts to create some really good. So those builds and the drops and things like that. Again, not my genre, but that sounded like a lot of drops that I've heard before. So that's probably a good thing because that's probably what a lot of people are doing. But yeah, just having a little bit more going on, maybe something on the left and something on the right. And to what you both said as well, I think if you looked at the frequency range of that, it would be sitting right in that mids and high mids area because the vocals were very much in there, the keys were there, the synth sounds were there, and even the drums didn't have a whole lot of bass or low end. And then the same with the bass. To your point, Mike, you should thumb it up a little bit so that you've got more there. And I could actually hear something on the other end as well, maybe some arpeggiated synth sounds to have a little bit of top end, a little bit of sparkle on top because everything sat down the middle, and that's okay. But I think, having that variety of having a bit more thump, and then when you're into those quiet sections, a little bit more like twink, 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 twinkly stuff up the top. So that's kind of what I have. And the final thing I'll say is, and again, really cool song, really good hook. That second chorus, I'm a big fan of. Your second chorus it's got to take it to the next level. And I didn't hear a lot of difference in the second chorus from the first chorus. So I wanted it to go out with a bang. So maybe that's where you amp up and you bring in a second bass instrument to really emphasize that.
Do you ever feel though, oh God, I'm going to insult some people now, but do you ever feel that this genre of music doesn't have those dynamics always though, that it can be a bit that same thumping kind of level all the way through. It wasn't thumping enough,
Yeah.
but it can tend to. I mean, I'm not. Do you ever find that?
Oh,
Or-
yeah, I think it can too. And I think if this was a song that actually just started loud, the old sausage waveform, starts loud, middle loud, end loud,
Yeah.
then you'd probably get away with it. But
Yeah,
this
right.
one actually had some really nice curves in dynamics. So with something like this, I wanted that dynamic shift. If everything was up there from start to finish, yeah, you could probably say, well, maybe the second chorus is a cut and paste and with maybe a few enhancements. But yeah, I think that with something that had such good dynamic range throughout, having that last chorus to just absolutely punch you in the face, so you leave just going, wow, that was amazing. I think that could really just lift it to another level.
Yeah,
You
absolutely.
could hear it in the breakdown as well. You could hear it in the breakdown, because a breakdown at any club, if you've got a drop, and it's got to kick you in the lower bread basket.
That's so true.
And,
yeah.
and it's got to go up and hit you in the neck, and because that's what people are looking for with that kind of music, especially at clubs. If they're off their guts, that's what they're looking for. It's true. It's part of
Can't
that
hear
scene.
anymore, I have to feel.
Well, that's
And-
it.
but it's
People
true,
do
and especially
feel it.
again in that low end, and it's often it's kind of one of the examples that often is used when we're talking about the low end of bass, in the sense of, we know that there are frequencies sort of below 20 hertz or so where they say, human hearing isn't that good. But there is this conversation, of course, that we do feel those frequencies in our body, not so much through our eardrums. And for these genres of music, that sense of bass is like really, really important. Does mean you have to be able to mix that on a good enough monitoring system to be able to actually judge that as
I
well.
was going to say exactly that, Mike. We're all listening on headphones that probably have a 20 hertz to 20,000 hertz range. So we're probably not hearing it. We're definitely not feeling a lot of that thump because we're not listening on speakers. And it probably, back to the mixing side of things, if you do only have headphones or you do only have small speakers, the old car test or the home theater test or the play it somewhere else test is so important, because this might sound really bass heavy on earbuds, but then you go play it on something with a subwoofer or something with some larger speakers and it just disappears. So having the ability, even if you don't have, expensive, sound treated room and 10-inch monitor speakers, just go and play it out in your home theater system or play it on a Bluetooth speaker, play it in the car, so that you can actually do those comparisons and then find. It's not going to be perfect everywhere, but if it's great one place and crap somewhere else, you probably need to do some tweaking.
Yep. I a few months ago now, Adam Audio sent me a subwoofer to review, and I wasn't very keen, to be honest with you. I thought, well, first of all, my room is not really big enough to have a subwoofer in, and I didn't really feel like it was going to benefit me with the sort of genre of music. But I thought I'll do the review anyway. They didn't send it to me for free, by the way, and I actually liked it so much that I bought it and I kept it. And the reason for that is I learned something, that it wasn't about making that low end louder or anything like that. It just revealed it to me.
Yeah.
It just made me be able to hear it. I still had to balance it in my room really, really carefully, and that took some time. But I've found a benefit. So I wouldn't say that everyone should buy a subwoofer for their mixing system, and you should be very careful about the room you're using it in. I do have bass traps in this room as well, so there's a little bit of control. I won't say it's awesome. It's not that well done, but there's a bit of control. There is only one position in my room where I can mix, and I can judge that as well. This seated position is the only place. Move 2 feet back. Sometimes Susie, when she's listening to mixes, will stand just behind my chair here, and I'll say, don't do it. It just, everything sounds crap in that back there. You've got to be right here to judge it. So there's lots of things to be involved in, especially low end of mixes. It's quite an art. Jade, what did you think about the vocal? Because he was asking us about the vocal and how suitable it was for this genre of music.
Absolutely suitable. Yeah. You again, I'm not an expert, but from what I hear of this music, you want to keep it, you want to do the kiss. You want to keep it simple, sweet and simple. and not overcomplicate things, because people are there to dance to the music. But it's pop music, dance music, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't need to be complicated. Probably the one thing I did right here about the vocals, and it's kind of going back to what Pete said, in the second half of the song, I probably would have brought up the harmonies and the backing a little bit more,
right.
just to really fill it out, because, you after that drop, you have to that's what it's about. At those live performances, the drop is to get everybody ready and get that whole place moving. So you want everything to rise with it. And it's why you have risers in dance music, because for that exact same thing, you want to get people to rise up and go crazy at that point. So definitely, I think the vocal's strong. I think he sounded fantastic for that genre. I just would have really filled it out at the end. The other thing I want to say, I like the length of it too.
Yeah.
Beauty of it is he can clearly do a remix for a live performance and really expand that out. But for a commercial kind of song, perfect length as well.
Yeah, it was really good, yeah. I felt, I put some notes about the vocals here, which this would be almost a negative in other circumstances, but I felt that the vocal phrasing was rigid sounding, okay? It was very it wasn't free-flowing. It was, we were born to, it was, and that's a compliment in this case. I think that really this style of music. And I almost wondered at some point, wow, did he have a double track with a vocoder on it which was blended in, because it had a ever so slightly robotic, that may have been because of pitch correction or whatever, but again, in this case, that can really suit that style of music and this particular song really, really well. So I would even stick my neck out as a creative suggestion and say, try it with a vocoder on it in some places. It may be a bit predictable, but give it a go. It may work, I think, in this song.
I think, I didn't really talk about the vocals either, but I thought that whoever said they're not suited, I mean, if it was supposed to be the big modern club mix where you've got the big booming vocal, then maybe. But this is more of a synthwave tune in my view. This is more your Thompson Twins, Duran Duran, and exactly what you said there, Mike. With if you think of a song like "Hold Me Now," that's the kind of vibe that I'm getting from it. And the vocals were actually perfect. They are exactly in that pocket. So
That's
I
exactly
agree.
Right, good stuff. Now I just want to mention, Jade brought it up a little bit there, but of course, all the music we're listening to now for this format of the show have not been mastered. So we're not getting that final impact compared to a fully commercial. I don't think you should take the attitude of save this mix with the mastering. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that get this mix good, and then you'll also benefit from some mastering in terms of adding the thumb into it.
And of course, what mastering does, isn't it? Sometimes you have a mix, right, and it some bits might seem a little bit low, but mastering really, if you know what you're doing, you can bring up those parts around it from a single wave file. It's amazing. People look at mastering and go, but how could you do it? It's already been mixed. You can bring those vocals up if you know what you're doing, and make it sound so much fuller than the original mix.
And also,
Mastering is
especially
the
what we were
magic
talking
sauce.
about, the with that sort of kick and bass in there, there's lots you can do with mastering there that will just thicken the whole thing up and really punch you in the chest.
Yeah.
But as I say, don't get lazy. Don't think, I'll leave that to the mastering stage. Try and achieve as much of it as you can in the mix. And then just
no such thing as fix it in the mix or fix it in the master. It's all illusion.
I disagree with that. I think you can fix some things in the mix. Ooh, controversial. Anyway, let's move on.
Can you fix my mix then, Mike?
Fight.
But when you have mastered it, of course, then you'll be ready to release it. And if you were going to release it, where would you release it?
Segue.
You would probably, I would say, the best choice on the planet at the moment would be DistroKid. And if you chose to follow the link in the description, you get 7% off of the cost of it, which is only normally, how much is it, Pete?
It's $19.99 per year for the musician plan, Mike.
And for an original song like this, no extra cost to pay. Amazing. Let's find out about that right now. If you do follow the link in the description down below, it's going to take you to a special page on DistroKid with this yellow banner at the top. That banner is letting you know that you're going to get a further 7% discount off your first year if you sign up here. And let's face it, it's already very cheap. If we scroll down, we can see that a year's membership is $19.99 per year for an unlimited number of albums and songs. And so long as it's your own music, there are no extra charges, and you get to keep all of the royalties from the various platforms. Platforms like Spotify, Apple Music, TikTok, Pandora, Amazon, Instagram, Tidal, iHeartRadio, Deezer, and more. Brad Ferguson in the chat says, I reckon the vocoder suggestion is spot on. I get more of a Kraftwerk vibe than a club track. Good pick there, Brad, I reckon, even if it is just because you're agreeing with me wholeheartedly. Thank you.
Do you also agree you can fix things in the mix, Brad?
Let's go there, Brad. Let's go there. Let's do it. And also, M Funk Row, nice username, by the way. Mixing is the most important thing. Mastering is touching up the details you want to bring up to the mix. I'd sort of go along with that. I wouldn't disagree with that. That's nice. Lots of nice, interesting things being said in there. And one that came up earlier, an analyzer always helps to judge the spectrum balance. I know that lots of those sort of pro guys out there on YouTube channels will hammer home, use your ears to mix, not your eyes. And I agree. But there are times where visual things, especially when you're tired and fatigued and you've got to get something out, because we live in the world, don't we, where we've got to get product out on YouTube like in the next hour. We've got time to rest for a day or do things like that. We can't have a third person master it for us. So we've got to sometimes make do with the best. And visual tools, I think, can be a help a little bit, So
I agree with that. For every time I see a Warren Hute or someone say, close your eyes and mix, it's like that assumes that you know what a 400 hertz frequency sounds like and you know what 2000 hertz sounds like. I don't. So sometimes I like to turn on my spectrum analyzer and see what the note is actually playing at because I don't know all that stuff. So yeah, it's definitely good for young players.
Folks, you heard it here first. We're ghetto here. We're ghetto.
And if you do a mix down and you look at your waveform and it's a solid sausage with straight edges, like you got to use your eyes sometimes, that'll tell you.
Maybe you need a bit of dynamics.
I've touched on this, and I'm not plugging or anything here. Maybe I should put a link in the description and get an affiliate kick from this, but I'm not going to. I do use tonal balance from Isotope. It's a part of, I think a part of their Ozone suite or whatever. And that's really nice. You can pick different genres of music and it shows you where things will typically sit in different frequency ranges for that genre of music. So if you were doing something like this, which you're intending to be for a club mix, it's going to give you, say, where the bass frequencies typically sit for that genre of music. It's a handy tool. I find it very handy indeed. I don't always agree with it. There has been times where it's saying to me, hey, the mid-range should be here. And I'm thinking, no, I don't think so. Not for this song. I like where it is. So you don't have to follow the suggestion, but I just find it handy. So yeah, give that a go. Is it available on iOS? I'm not sure. Anyway.
I just got myself Ozone 9 last week, so I'm very excited. Because I'm starting a mastering business very soon, and I thought it's time to move up to the big guns and get off
it's
iOS.
Good.
And
it's really good. I did
away.
a video on it a few weeks ago. Yeah.
It's amazing.
And something I was mentioning is there's something of they don't intend it to be a tutorial, but there's something about the structure of it and the way it's put together which kind of guides you through the necessary elements of mastering. It kind of helps you through just by design. So definitely good. Doug agrees here. Doug says loving Ozone 9 Advanced. Well, that's the big boy you've got there, Doug.
That's what I have as well.
It's the
as long as it doesn't need one of those dongle things. I refuse to ever use software that needs one of those things. I don't even remember what they're called. iLocks. Oh God! Whenever I see that, I'm just like, oh my God! I would never use that. I don't care how good the software is.
I've got iLock doesn't have to have a USB thing, so just educate. I don't want Pete to spread fake news here on the channel. So iLock does have a software element to it. I'm not really defending it because it's kind of a pain in the ass, especially when I'll say one thing that I find a pain is when you completely wipe your system, you upgrade your computer, you actually have to contact not iLock, but you have to contact each software vendor, and they don't have a system for it. You have to email them.
Yeah.
You know, and they sort of unlock it so that you can. That's stupid.
I think that's what finally pushed me off of Reaper on my PC, because I had like Addictive Drums and some other ones that had all these weird serial keys, and it was exactly that every time you reinstalled it, it's like, this is why people pirate software. This is the problem. I want to pay you. I've already paid you, and you won't let me just install your software on my new machine. It's just, Anyway, we could rant about that another day.
Well, why not? Well, let's do a whole show. Anyway, moving on to our next song. This is from Ray Foster. It's called "Come Out With Me." In fact, I was a bit late. I'll put that up there. Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, Ray.
I was wondering if someone was going to pick on that one. Yeah. So Ray says, as a bedroom producer artist here in Northern Ireland, I'm really struggling with this tune. I think I've spent too much time on it, and I have lost the ability to figure out sounds. In particular, I'm struggling with the sound of the bass guitar and drums. However, it could be the entire song that's throwing me out. I'm sending this as I feel fresh ears and opinions may help out in regards to the mix. Thank you so much, Ray, for sending it in and having the courage to do that. We're going to have a listen to that right now.
It's 5 days to Friday. Gonna take you out on a date to some meat or maybe more. If I play it really cool and I don't be a fool, well, I might have a chance of having you in my life for good. Shoulda-doop-doo, shoulda-doop-doo-doo, shoulda-doop-doop-doo. Come out with me, go out with me, come out with me, go out with me, come out with me, and we'll be okay. We'll meet up, do a drink up, do we eat out, do we make out or hold each other's hands? I'll need a little clue, even time smile do, just to break across the feeling between me and you. Shoulda-doop-doo, shoulda-doop-doo-doo, shoulda-doop-doo-doo. Come out with me, go out with me, come out with me, go out with me, come out with me, and we'll be okay, okay, and we'll be okay, yeah, and we'll be okay, okay, we'll be okay, yeah. It's 5 days to Friday. Gonna take you out on a date. This is me, so maybe more. If I played really cool and I don't be a fool, well, I might have a chance of having you in my life for good. Shoulda-doop-doo, shoulda-doop-doo-doo, shoulda-doop-doop-doo. Come out with me, go out with me, come out with me, go out with me,
That had a properly unfinished ending there, didn't it? Yeah. Pete, have we muted you? Have I muted you? Have you?
I muted me. I didn't want
you-
my heavy breathing to come in right at the end of that where I'm...
So, I think this is a little bit closer to your normal genre, Pete. So,
Yeah, this is my jam. So I think it wanted Lily Pillies or someone that said it's a bit REM-y. It's a little bit of that sort of 80s, 90s pop rock kind of vibe that I dig, singer-songwriter kind of stuff. So right up my alley. I mean, I listen for hooks and I listen for, am I going to walk around going dee for the rest of the day? Yes, I am. And to me, job done. All right there. In terms of actual critical feedback that might actually help. So, the vocals I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed the complexity of the vocals. It got a little bit loose in a few places there where I think there was a lot of words in a short period of time. And when you're doing stuff like that, it really highlights when it's not super tight and super on the grid and in the pocket. So a few of those little sections and some of those sort of higher notes were not quite on the mark in my opinion, but that might just be, you're working on this track, maybe do another double of that or just try that, or maybe even use a bit of tuning, because you know what, even the best of us do tune a note or two every now and then. The guitars, I really like the chugga chugga sort of low guitars. Would have liked some more higher guitar parts in there, so like some lead ad-libs and riffs over the top might have sort of helped get it out of that low mid-range sort of feel that we had through a lot of it. But then when the lead guitar came in, I'm like, there it is, there's a nice high lead. Would also, I think Keonra said the guitars bring more forward, more present in the mix, and I'd agree with that. I think that they were a little bit on the buried side. I'd love them, especially when the solo came in, just bring it up front and push it home there. And look, that's... I don't have a whole lot here, and I was just sort of grooving and vibing to the overall track. Oh, the one other thing, I think in a song like this, sometimes there's a temptation to not use any sort of keys or pads. You want it like, this is a guitar track. We want guitars and vocals and drums. But I thought that there was room for a string pad or a synth pad or something at the top end there, just in some of those sections where it was doing the and maybe even some R's. Like there was one part there where I could just hear some just over the top, just to complement the vocals. So that would be if I was sitting down with that, I'd be like, yeah, you got yourself a cool hook and a cool song here, and there's a few little tweaks and things that I'd suggest.
interesting. Sounds like you think he's got it most of the way there. Yeah. Just those final... I mean, sometimes those final touches can take longer than any other part of the song, but...
It's true.
It's fun. It's a fun part, though, when you get to... Just do those finishing touches and tighten things up like vocals as well. I do think it's a little bit of a pet peeve of mine. There's a time for sort of looseness, and this sounds... You should ring that bell. There's a time for looseness. There's a time for tightness.
I feel like I'm in a Benny Hill episode.
And the look on Jade's face is unimpressed. Cameron's frozen on a really unimpressed look there too, so it kind of adds to it a bit.
Jade, how are you feeling about that mix?
You can tell that he's obviously put in a lot of time on it already. So it's at a good stage, definitely. It's only little things, I think. I was finding it hard to find things. Clearly. I agree with the solo. I thought the solo was much too low and needed to come out and make a statement, definitely. I think the vocals were a little bit too dry as well. I think there was room for some reverb on the main vocal just to give it a bit of depth. I think it felt really dry, and it kind of... the backing, the wow that had enough on it. So the vocal being dry kind of really separated a little bit. I think there's a lot of room for panning going on. Yeah. There's definitely not near enough panning that there could be. I agree with Pete on the pad. I'd probably, there's it kind of felt like there's like a flange thing going in there. And I don't know. You could probably put in something a bit more solid just to sit underneath and not try and steal the show when you've got a vocal that's so complex like that, and you've got a wow and something going underneath, kind of your row you about kind of stuff, but not exactly the same. Just a pad to build it up in that chorus. a supporting act, man. That's because you've already got so much going on. I would probably even, if it was me, I probably would remove the wow wows at the start and bring them in when the main vocal comes in.
Okay.
Just to let you know we've started singing now, and there's this thing here because it kind of starts off straight away. It doesn't give you room to breathe. There's vocals all the way through it. Even in the solo, there was as well. You could probably even pull that out and let that solo breathe a bit more. Yeah, but look, obviously he has swatted a hell of a lot over it. You can tell. And there's not a lot more he needs to do. I think the most satisfying thing that's going to come is when he releases it.
Yeah, I think so.
To breathe.
This song, it's one of those wonderful things to critique in that it's already got that core ingredients with that wow and the do. I mean, it you kind of wish I'd written that bit. That's handy. Funnily enough, people were mentioning REM. I don't know if anyone else is going to hear this, but I had a little bit of a Blur vibe in there because of some of those things. And it wasn't so much that it sounded like Blur, that it was that fun element to music that Blur used to sometimes have in their music. There was that whole Oasis Blur thing going on in the UK, that rivalry. I always felt Oasis were a little bit serious. They took themselves a little bit too seriously. I had more fun when I went to see Blur. But anyway, there's a good fun element going in there. Good pickup song. I could chuck that in the car on a summer's day and I'll have a load of fun listening to that. And I know this is a very predictable thing to say. We've often talked about it on the show. But during the chorus, people were talking about guitars here a lot. There's an overdriven guitar, single overdriven guitar. It's right down the middle of the mix. I picked up on that and I thought, well, this is just a great example. You should be doubling that, spreading it out, and even adding a harmony to it as well. Not for the first chorus, maybe for the second and third chorus, so that you can have some kind of build-up happening there. But that's a pretty obvious thing to do there, I think, Ray. An easy thing to do. Take you a few minutes to play that guitar part and magic will happen just like that. And I'm not in complete agreement with about the pads. I don't know. Maybe you guys are hearing something I'm not quite hearing. That could be one of those things where you just got to try it. You're going to know instantly that works or it doesn't work. Just give it a go. That's the fun part of making music.
Totally.
So we can just try something and go, no, don't like it, and chuck it out.
Yeah, I think expanding on your point with the guitars, I think that would be, and to Jade's point with the wow, I think if you just grabbed a second guitar double, put that far left, far right, and then grabbed your wows and brought them just in a little bit, and then had your main vocal down the center, you could just create this wall that just would hit you, especially for that last chorus. It would just be explosive, and I think a simple thing like that could actually make the big difference, and just, as Jade said, get it over the line, get it done, so that you can get it out there and move on. Because we've all been there where you're just hanging on and gripping tightly. You don't want to let go because it's not perfect. Guess what? Perfection is a myth. You won't ever make it perfect. Make it as good as you can. Get it out there and make another song, because you can clearly write really cool hooks.
Pete Johns is almost a symbol of perfection is a myth, isn't it?
Oh, mate, I'm dialing it in at 80% tops these days. I tell you,
that was cool, wasn't it? I think the do-do-dos would have worked really well as a doubled, completely separate from the main vocal. Yeah, could be right there. Zombie Economist, another great username, by the way.
That's so cool.
Here's me.
Okay, I'm subscribing right now. Zombie Economists, right?
Absolutely. Again, keep them coming in the comments. I'm loving reading the comments as we're listening to this. They say too many chefs can spoil the broth. That's true. But it's interesting because I think there's a sort of a consistency in terms of the opinions which are coming up here. That can be valuable when everybody listening to it says, hey, maybe you should double the guitars in the chorus, then yeah, maybe you should. Let's move on. To be honest with you, as I said, this was fun. This is a fun song. It's a really important thing. I love fun music. And you can also have a lot of fun on DistroKid, can't you, with some of the features they've got.
Okay.
Submit your music to the DistroKid Spotlight feature. It gets entered into this competition where it gets played alongside other songs, and people will vote for which of the two they see on the screen is their favourite. Now, the better you do in this process, the more likely you are to appear in one of DistroKid's playlists on Spotify, and that means your music's got a much better chance of being heard. So you simply go ahead and select one of your songs, and then you've just got to select a 29-second clip. The best part of the song, it would be the best way to go with this, and you've got this nice sort of interactive feature here to do that. You simply then select the Connect with Spotify button, and you're away. Now, just in case you're wondering, people either in the live chat or on the replay, with these songs I'm playing, what are these little kind of animations I'm playing along with them? Pete, were you wondering that?
Yeah, I was wondering that. Exactly.
I decided that it's a visual show, this, and I just didn't want to play audio and have us three sing.
No, I like it.
Nice, that wouldn't be that good. So I did pay for a service for this, just in case anyone wants to know. And they're not sponsoring the show. They don't know who I am or anything like that. But just out of interest, I use something called Render Forest. Okay, and it wasn't cheap, but it's kind of a really easy to use service. Upload the music. And there's loads and loads of visualizations there that you can use to add to songs. So yeah, just in case.
There you go. I was going to steal that idea from you, Mike, but now it sounds too hard and expensive now, so maybe I won't.
Shall I tell you how much I paid for it?
Can we guess? Can Jade and I guess?
Go,
and then
you guess for a
so
year.
I paid
for a year.
For a year subscription to this service. I think you paid $149 US.
I reckon 109.
Have you guys been looking at their website or something like that?
No.
It was around about that. I can't even remember. It was close to a couple. It was close to a couple hundred Australian. Yeah.
It's not terrible. I pay that for Canva. I pay $10 a month for Canva,
Yeah.
so that's 120 a year. So that's fair.
And maybe I shouldn't say this in public, but they're not sponsoring me, so what the hell? It did end up with me getting my bank account frozen, and I was in the gas station trying to buy $7 worth of bread and milk, and I was there was a long queue. And they were like, "Oh, your card's it's not approved." And I was like, "What?" And they thought it was a dodgy transaction, so they cancelled my card, my bank, without telling me. No. Bankwest, thanks very much, Bankwest, for not SMSing me when you cancel my card.
Bloody Western Australians.
Western Australians. Not only that, but the nice customer service person, I'll have a rant now, customer service person who I spoke to, who unblocked my card, should have put me through to the fraud department. They didn't. I found this out later, when they blocked my card again an hour later, and the next day, 3 times, an hour on the phone in that queue. And I was ranting like old men do. And I was saying to Susie, you know what, back in the 1980s, and I was saying I'm really old at this point, I was saying we didn't have these automated phone systems. People either answered the phone or it was engaged. And I can't remember ever waiting on the phone for half an hour for anything in the 1980s or the 90s. Can you guys? Come on.
Call centres. So don't get me started, mate, on call centres. We've been there. I just love it because Western Australia is really good at closing things, but it's really hard to get them open again. So I've heard that about your state. So it doesn't surprise me that was your experience, Mike.
Mike, have you heard of the Mandela effect? I think you might be going through that because I'm pretty sure online call centres have always been long.
Back in my day.
It's the Berenstain Bears, I tell you.
Look, back in my day, politicians were honest.
Oh, yep.
And they never lied.
Kids played in the street till 10 o'clock at night. And they were absolutely fine.
And everything was affordable. Oh, it was
My
awesome.
kid could eat dirt and be fine.
All right, rant over.
Nice.
If you want to join in that rant in the chat and make me feel better
what do you think about call centres?
Yeah, what do you think about call centres? I want the person to say, I love call centres. What's wrong with everyone? What's wrong with call centres? Like, I love waiting on the phone for half an hour after pressing 2 when I probably should have pressed 3.
Always press sales. So I worked in call centres for 25 years. So the key thing is never press the service button, press sales, and then you'll get through to a salesperson because they want your money, and then say, oh, I pressed the wrong button. Can you put me through to service? And then you get straight through to the queue. So never press service.
Yeah, or press cancellations.
Go to the cancellation team.
You might walk away with a discount normally because they'll try and retain you always.
Absolutely.
All the hot tips here, not just mixing and mastering, folks.
Yes.
We've got
Can I speak to your retention team?
Yes, retention team. Oh, you're going to give me a 55% discount for the rest of my life. Thank you very much. Bye.
Now, just in case I've committed some sort of defamation here, I'm not saying that Render Forest is dodgy in any way whatsoever, just that my bank are potentially overzealous with their security systems. Okay?
Too late.
Now, for the final song, which comes, this is really different because this is from Daniel Starr, and this is really unfinished in the sense it has no vocals on it, and I think Daniel intends to eventually have vocals on it. So we've just got the music to listen to. It's kind of about 4 minutes long, so we do have to use our imagination with it a little bit. And Daniel says, I'm a little older, played in several bands in my teens and 20s, recently reacquainted with writing and playing. I'm very new to home studio work. Like many in the last couple of years, I dipped my toes into home recording. Although this is an incomplete song, as there are no vocals, the music is basically complete. My mixers and masters need help! Exclamation mark. Now, got a little challenge for Daniel here because his temporary placeholder name for this song is Flatfish, right? And I'm just going to say to Daniel, if you can make that the name of the song and make the lyrics about a flatfish, then there's your challenge, yeah. Or could it be a way of hey, Jade's a bit of a flatfish. What does that even mean?
And it has the opportunity to really make up anything you want.
It does.
Flatfish. I'm thinking of those. Are they called skims or there's snooks or something?
Mud skipper.
Those fish that are flat that when you're in the
flat,
shallows,
yeah.
you'd step on them and like if you're out wading or body surfing or something, you just like be walking along and then you step on a fish and it just goes whoom, and yeah.
And
so
they're really ugly fish, aren't they?
Oh, they're horrific and just gross.
They look like little sea monsters. And we can say that, can't we?
We're
That's not.
offending everybody today, aren't we?
Don't you hate fish? Don't you hate call centers and borders and fish?
Screw the fish.
No, just ugly fish. For goodness sake, get
Not
a
good
life
eating.
and stay away from my feet, for God's sake. No wonder you're ugly hanging around with my feet. Now, so let's have a listen to this before we get any
Offended all
more
the
out
foot
of
fetish
control.
people out there too. Oh, God.
Thought you were one of us, Mike. Thought you loved feet.
Foot fetish people just left the show.
That's 20% of Mike's demo too, so that's devastating.
Oh, dear. All right, let's have a listen. Daniel Starr. Oh, dear.
Save us, Daniel.
Save us, Daniel. righty. There's quite a lot to say about this, I think, actually, even though it's sort of, as we say, it's an incomplete one. I'm going to go over to, not wanting to pigeonhole anyone. Does anyone want to ding the bell for pigeonhole? But I'm going to go over to Jade. Because I feel like Jade is going to have a lot of stuff to say about this genre of music. Go, Jade.
Firstly, well, it's hard to get an idea. Look, it's hard to talk about this without talking about the song structure in a way.
Yeah, right.
Because you don't... People could, I could sit here till the cows come home and go, well, there wasn't enough dynamics in it and stuff like that. But because there's no vocal in there, it's really hard to know where this is going, because the vocal may be a driving thing that pushes it along.
Yeah, right.
So what I can say is, firstly, I don't know if this is the case. It sounded like the bit rate of the actual song wasn't its best quality. I don't know what it was sent in. It just seemed like,
I think it was sent to me as an MP3, and now, of course, we're now streaming it. So
yeah. So there's that discrepancy with the bit rate of it. Sounded a bit, with cymbals crashing. That kind of yucky
that
sound
really
you get.
shows.
So
yeah.
it would be nice to hear it at its fullest waveform of the mix. Definitely, I'm sure it would make a lot more sense. Clearly, like it's a driving song. The guitars everything sounds tight. That's really good. It definitely needs some more guitar doing things. Bringing in little melodies in there and stuff to break it up. Just those little, even single string notes along there to give it melody, because there's no vocal in there, to give it a bit more character. I think the bass was thumping. It kind of sounded a bit loud. But again, it was the quality of the actual recording. It's a hard one because of that quality thing to really get a good idea of how it sounded. I thought the drum sounded really solid, everything like that. It's definitely lacking a fair bit. It's lacking some guitar melody in there. And it's lacking a solo. It's lacking, I think those extra guitar bits would really break it up even before you add vocals to it, and give cause the one thing was it sounded so continuous too. It really sounded like a train going full pout, and I didn't really know where the chorus was or where the verse was. But I guess it's hard because there's no vocals. So,
and that's really true, because there are sometimes you get songs which actually do have the same chord structure all the way through, but because the vocal changes so much for the chorus, it feels like it's even gone through a different chord structure when it hasn't. Whereas when you're listening to it in this context, I'll just speak about that a bit more, but I want to hear from Pete first on this.
I like it. A lot of energy from the very start on that one. And by the way, I am familiar with Daniel, because it wouldn't be me on your show without me having heard this artist before. But
really?
Daniel
Okay.
Starr, if it's the same one I'm thinking, goes by the name of DSTO as well. I've played him, and I think him and his brother have released music before, and I played it on Your Music Live, and always enjoyed it. So if it's the same Daniel, hello Daniel. I like the energy from the start. I agree with that I'm going to use a weird analogy here because I'm hungry and it's nearly lunchtime. But this is like a delicious pizza base. This is what Daniel's done here is he's tossed the dough, he's added the nice herbs, he's got it all laid out there, and he's got it ready. And all you need now is to get some mozzarella and some Romano tomatoes and so a little bit of basil, and it's going to be absolutely delicious. And some pineapple and some big chunks of beef. No. But to me, this is a really good solid base for a really cool song. But to Jay's point, I think, you need a couple, like a lead guitar and at least a couple of those bits just to bridge some of the sections together, because it is very straightforward. I heard, and maybe this is just my 90s sort of pop punk upbringing, but I heard a halftime, like a breakdown of a bridge or something with like a doom, doom, ch, do, do, like just the drums going halftime, and at being a bit of varieties, because I love when something does that, like a song like this, just drive, halftime, and then punches you in the face with the big final chorus. So that was just something I heard. The same as Jade, I couldn't hear the crash cymbals. The crash cymbals sounded terrible, but I think that's more the compression that I'm hearing rather than the actual cymbals sounding bad, because the kick and the snare sounded good. And the one thing streaming can't do well is reproduce high frequency. So I think that was losing it from there. And I've got a weird thing here. Like I know it's I think it's Daniel and his brother Daryl that play music together. I heard a female vocal. I heard like a real like rock rock chick vocal over the top of this one, just to sort of mix it up. I heard like a Baby Animals vibe, and like an Ella from what's the name of that band, Killing Heidi kind of vibe to it. That's the sort of vibe I got. So you could either go one way, which is like a very like rah, 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 like loud, angry, yelling white man, or you could actually go like female vocals over that, and I think it would work equally well either way. But yeah, that's all I got to say about it. It's definitely up my alley. I like it. I like a nice driving guitar tone. I like the drums. Yeah, I think it's a beautiful pizza base ready for some delicious toppings.
I'm very torn about this one, and it's part of the reason why I actually put it on the show, because it gives us an opportunity to talk about the process here. Just to talk about the mix quickly. I like Jade. I kind of like the drums. I think they weren't real drums; they were programmed. But so far, they've been programmed pretty well. So lots of nice use of those snare fills and things like that. I think you could still do a little bit more on that. You've done a good job so far, so why not just take it now to that next level? Just details with drums, subtle details, in there, but not much. I thought with the bass guitar, hey, you might want to re-record that and use a pick on it, rather than it sounds like the fingers are being used. And I think with this song, because it's got that like a picked bass guitar, may have a nice attack in there, that could be good. I disagree with Jade a little bit. I picked up on some areas that I didn't think were very tight between the guitar and the drums. Just want to readdress this. I think for this song it might be really important to be really on it with this. But I think this is interesting because, Daniel, with great respect, I really don't like this way of creating music. I think you should have written the vocals first and then start to record the song. I fear with this method that the vocals will always feel like something alien to the rest of the music, like they've just been sort of plonked on top. People always talk about this. Hey, my vocal sounds like it's a different thing to the rest of the band. I could be wrong, but I really feel like, look, I'd like to hear the song as a whole, and that vocal is going to tell you where the dynamics of the song should be as well, in my opinion, so much. But I do think it's a good basis for a song, what's here, just a good kicking. But yeah, let us know in the comments whether you write in this way, whether you create in this way. Maybe it's a personal thing. I don't think I ever could. I think I need that vocal as a skeleton, actually, for the whole thing.
Trying to work out if I
and la la la's,
yeah.
See, I heard a real Foo Fighter kind of vocal in there, that real driving Foo Fighter thing, and that's why I said too, you can't tell because it's going full ball, and that vocal could be that and could be doing that to keep pushing it, because those vocals do push those songs ahead. And I do agree with you, Mike. I probably said I thought it was tight. There were some bits that were a bit chonky. There were, and that's again. Look, I would have. And now we're getting to songwriting and stuff too. I would have put in a few more breaks in there and some more definite stops where you actually had a minute to go dun, bum, and back in, instead of like dun, it felt a bit rushed, those little breaks in there. That's just my personal opinion with rock. Sometimes you need a good stop to really smash it back in again, kind of like dance music as well, with a drop.
Yeah, somebody said in the comments, sorry, I don't remember who it was, but I'd written it down. They quote, maybe some spots to breathe. Yeah. And it's important always in music that, some moments of silence or breaks, not always, but a lot of the time anyway, can be great.
Can I just say, there's plenty of room for amazing melodies for a vocal line. Because I was sitting here muted and singing along, and I came up with so many, but I'm a singer, I can hear these things, and there's plenty of opportunity. You can go many routes with it. That's a good thing.
And as you said, even if you were to put in some la la la's in there temporarily, just to give you that structure. Interestingly, in the Beatles documentary which recently out, which every YouTuber has been talking about, but I noticed they were doing that. They just using placeholder lyrics and things, and I can't remember what the actual quote was, but at some point John Lennon turned around and said, "Just sing Cabbage" or something. But yeah, I mean, just that's probably how they wrote the Walrus song, I guess. But so
I think that was the
just
drugs,
say "I am
actually.
a walrus" for a while until we find the right lyrics, and then they went
Number 8.
Let's just
or the LSD. Yes.
yeah, it could have been the LSD.
I think a lot of it, because I was trying to work out how do I actually, because I just written a song, like literally in the last 5 days, I've gone from skeleton to song. And because I'm a vocalist as well as a guitarist and as well as a songwriter, I think having a melody line in my head is something that I do naturally. But I wonder if that's just if you, me, and Jade, Mike are all vocalists, so we all think that way, and maybe someone writing a song, they're creating the canvas for a vocalist to come in and add that. And I think it's something that I know Jade says a lot, and that I try to think of with music, is that it's actually better to start with more. So yeah, that song's full on, and that song doesn't have a lot of break, and it doesn't have room to breathe. But you can create that. You might as well put everything in there and then remove. I think a lot of people create and then keep trying to add and add, and again, the cookie analogies again. If you just keep trying to add ingredients, eventually it's just going to taste terrible. And it's the same with music. If you spend all your time trying to add something to fix the fact that the original stuff that you have in there is already too much, it doesn't actually work. So sometimes removing stuff can give it that room to breathe, and then it can actually improve a song as much as adding something new.
Absolutely. Now, Daniel is in the chat. Thanks so much, Daniel, for sending this in and allowing us to rip it apart. I will say that, I'm willing to be proven wrong. I want to reiterate, I personally would find it very difficult to create in this way. That doesn't mean you shouldn't and that you can't. And as you're saying here, he says, I'm not really a singer. Always start off with a riff and write around it. I do have the vocal melody forming. So I think that's cool. I'd be really interested to hear the complete song, actual Daniel, when you do get a vocal on there. Be happy if you want to resubmit it at some point when you've got that part done, and it'd be interesting for us to see, how you've gone from this stage to the next stage, and whether indeed, you could use it as a. He says, I write, not a warrior. That's why I didn't read that. I thought it was a typo. But yeah, so definitely do that. I'd be interested to see where this goes. I kind of suspect that once you get some vocal structure in there, it may make it obvious to you at that point where you should be creating some space in the rest of the music. There's this whole thing, as I say, I get many questions about it, of treating the vocals and the instruments as these two separate things. I can get it. I can understand where people are coming from. But also, remember, this is a whole thing. They're all interacting with each other. As soon as you put any vocal on this mix, as it is, and I think it's a good mix at the moment, it's going to change the dynamic of the mix totally. Just with one vocal, no doubles or anything, it's going to totally change the feel of the mix. So,
and it's why it's why sorry Mike, to cut you off. It's why feedback like this and why sharing. I know we started, and probably loop it all around. We started with the fact that sharing unfinished work is often a bit of a challenge, and it feels a bit weird and you feel a bit uncomfortable. But you can also benefit because sometimes we get married to our own creations. And if Daniel's sitting there going, "But I really like the fact that it does this all the way through," that's totally cool. But someone else's feedback that says, "Hey, maybe let it breathe," you might actually go, "Oh, I didn't think of doing that," and maybe you try it and you do something different. So I think because we're creating a lot in our own audio caves, especially in 2021 and 22, having the ability to have other people's feedback and insights into what might work and what you could maybe do differently that you hadn't thought about can actually really help the end product and the end result of your song.
And that's what bands are about, really. That is the joy of being it. I mean, we've all been in bands, and I haven't for years because I don't want the other stuff that goes with bands. But that element of bands, I mean, I have wonderful rose-tinted glasses memories of being in rehearsal rooms and kind of battling out ideas with each other. Even when it gets a bit rough, it's good. It's really good, and just, having that other input so you're not always in that narrow lane that we tend to be in, and someone yanking you and go, try this. Jade, you were nodding your head there. Yeah. Oh.
We
It
can
says
hear
you're
you.
muted, but I'm
I can hear
hearing
you loud
I
and
can
clear. That's
hear
weird.
you. That's really odd. Yeah. Oh. But just quickly, because we're near the end of the show, just for those who didn't hear, Jade was saying that that she actually has been working on some music, Jade, that hasn't had vocals and lyrics on it, and you're at the stage of actually doing that now, so you're going to be interested in how that works out for yourself. So I'll just reiterate for that.
Very good. As soon as you mentioned factory farming, you got shut down. Is that a?
That was it.
That was weird, wasn't it?
YouTube have muted you for factory farming, Jade. You shouldn't have mentioned it. We
Alphabet
tried to warn
own
you.
own a lot of stocks in big animal farming, apparently.
Well, I'm gonna let you guys go. We're gonna finish the show now. It's been fun. It's been fun. I like this format. I have to, if I may just continue for my own personal reasons, because I think this is more constructive than just kind of listening to finished product, to be honest with you. So I'm going to do it again next week, so you know. But do let me know in the chat if you're watching on the replay, or just in different places in my Facebook group there. If you've enjoyed this format, then do encourage us, and we'll keep doing it. For those of you who I didn't get loads and loads of submissions, I guess I got around about 30 or so. For those of you who were not in this show, I may very well just use some of those other submissions for next week's show. So it doesn't mean you won't be on the show. It doesn't mean you've missed out or what have you. If those submissions start to get a bit old, I'll get back to you and just check whether you still want the feedback, because you may have finished the whole process by then. But certainly for the next 2 to 3 weeks, I'll be using those submissions. So keep watching, and hopefully your song will be on the show. There's been loads of people in the live chat today, and some really interesting comments. Loved having you here. Thank you so much for joining us at whatever hour it is for you in whatever country you're in. I've really enjoyed having these two guests either side of me today, two of my favourite people in the world. Wonderful giving people to the community. Always got really constructive criticism from them. It's just really awesome to have these type of people on the show. I don't know who'll be with me next week. They'll find out themselves probably during the next couple of days when I get my act together. But you know how it goes, guests, don't you? I just kind of pop up and go, hey, can you do a show this week? Just maybe give you a link to the show at some point a few minutes before we start as well. Right. Anyway, but thanks everyone who's been here. Really enjoyed it. We're going to be doing this again next week, and if don't forget, if you do send this in, we may have some, I'll say in quotes, negative things to say, but that's what it's all about. We're not negative. All creativity, everyone's at different stages. We appreciate that. So don't be too shy about sending it in. You're in a safe space here, okay? So look forward to hearing some more submissions. If you do want to send me a submission, I've forgotten about that. Just send them to my email address creative.tube. No, it's not that, is it? creative.source.tube@gmail.com. I'll put a link in the description for that. Blah, 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 blah. Let's say goodbye. Jade, and your thoughts. Oh, she's muted. I don't know. Say goodbye.
Yeah. Can folks confirm? Can we get a thumbs ups in the chat if you can hear Jade, so that she can say goodbye? Because we can hear Jade, but can you hear Jade now? Can we get a chat thumbs up in case we can't? Otherwise, I'll have to do Jade's outro.
What if they can't hear us, Pete, and they don't know that we're asking?
Ooh.
Oh my God! It's
all gone a bit weird.
It's all gone a bit weird.
Layer upon layer upon layer.
Maybe we should just wave instead. Wave together.
We can't hear Jade.
Wave.
That is
give us a
weird.
Wave, Jade. Give us a wave, Jade. Give us
a
wave.
I'll help Jade's. So go over to HowTo app on iOS.com or jadestar.com.au. Don't forget the AU, it's super important. Jade's live every day. This week she's been looking at Loopy Pro and been creating a brand new song using this great new piece of software on iOS. If you have any interest in creating music on your iPhone or iPad, you've got to go and check out Jade. jadestar.com.au.
Link in the description. Awesome, pro. You should pay him, Jade. You should pay him for this stuff.
Yeah, I do.
The voiceover man. It's amazing. All right, then. See you, folks. See you next